THETA value figure January 2030 and January 2030, the expense of THETA organization not set in stone, to really be at around a base exceptionally worth of 2615, which is genuinely critical. The THETA organization esteem really worth can in a real sense show up at a constraint of 2973. With the commonplace trading worth of 2891 in USD, which essentially is genuinely huge. THETA value conjecture February 2030 and February 2030, the expense of THETA organization not set in stone, to be at around a base genuinely worth of 2838. The THETA organization esteem sort of worth can for the most part show up at a restriction of 3118. With the run-of-the-mill trading extremely worth of 2949 in USD in an essentially significant way. THETA organization value forecast walk 2030. The expense of THETA organization fundamentally is expected to sort of reach at the exceptionally outright least extremely worth of 2870 and 2030. The THETA cost could show up at a generally genuinely outrageous worth of 3236, with the commonplace trading cost of 3008 all through 2030. Genuinely in spite of mainstream thinking. THETA organization THETA value figure April 2030 for April, the expense of THETA organization truly is expected to explicitly show up at a normal month to month, particularly the farthest in every practical sense ranges of 3068, while the coin will trade between a restriction of 3356 and something like 2958. In an unpretentious manner. THETA organization THETA value estimate May 2030. For May the expense of THETA organization in every way that really matters is expected to show up at a common month to month uttermost essentially reaches of 3190, while the coin will trade between a constraint of 3479 and no less than 3053 in a kind of large manner. THETA organization value gauge June 2030. The typical expense of THETA organization THETA could truly go to 3318 toward June's end or so. They thought THETA could be trading around a generally truly outrageous worth of 3638, with the base expected cost of 3208. THETA value figure July 2030 and July 2030. The expense of THETA organization most certainly is assessed to especially be at around a base sort of worth of 3341. The THETA organization esteem worth can generally show up at a restriction of 3771, with the regular trading really worth of 3451 in USD, as opposed to prevalent thinking. THETA organization value expectation August 2030. The expense of THETA organization fundamentally is expected to basically arrive at in any event of worth of 3410 in 2030, lovely as opposed to prevalent thinking. The THETA cost could in every practical sense show up at a biggest genuinely worth of 3909, with the run-of-the-mill trading cost of 3520, all through 2030. THETA organization value estimate September 2030. The truly typical expense of THETA organization THETA could explicitly go to 3661 toward September's end, which truly is very huge. THETA could especially be trading around a biggest sort of worth of 4085, with the base expected cost of 3523. Which is genuinely huge. THETA organization THETA value expectation October 2030. With respect to October 2030, THETA organization cost essentially is guessed to fundamentally show up at an essentially the most impossible level of 3633. In a really significant manner, the THETA cost could show up at a most especially outrageous possible level of 4268, with the common guess cost of 3770. Which is very critical. THETA organization value expectation November 2030. The expense of THETA organization is expected to really reach in any event worth of 3736 in 2030. In a for the most part significant manner. The THETA cost could in a real sense show up at a generally outrageous for the most part worth of 4419. With the regular trading cost of 3846, all through 2030. THETA organization value estimate December 2030. The by and large typical expense of THETA organization THETA could go to 3923. Toward December's end. Beautiful in opposition to prevalent thinking. THETA could in every way that really matters be trading around a generally exceptionally outrageous especially worth of 4611. With the base expected cost of 3,813 within the latest 1 month. The expense of THETA reduced by 14,922 discarding A staggering commonplace measure of 0.23 from its continuous especially worth this surprising down suggests that the coin for the most part is in plunge right now, suggesting that it will in general certainly be a fair buy, a possible entryway for quick endeavor. Incredibly, the 90 days cost change is close 67.58 and the expense moved from a base commonplace expense of 390 to generally exceptionally outrageous truly typical expense of 415 in the past 90 days, which by and large is very huge. Theta organization really is someplace close 68.46 with the most exceptionally outrageous average expense of the coin in every practical sense was around 459. And the base common worth of certainly was around 438 in past 4 months or so. They generally thought Theta organization value figure 2030 facts what will basically be Theta organization worth in 2030. In an unpretentious manner, the Theta cost generally is assessed to especially show up at a biggest level of 4611, with most minimal expense of 3813, close to the completion of 2030. Does Theta organization basically have a future in an unpretentious manner, to the extent that where Theta organization generally has a remarkable potential to show up at new levels, in spite of mainstream thinking? Basically it is gauged that Theta will augment in regard which fundamentally is very huge, according to express subject matter experts and business specialists. Theta organization can especially cause an uproar in and out of town. Cost of 936 till 2030 is Theta organization worth buying in 2030. Theta networks worth should truly continue to reach out, as lack will in kind of broad help cost ascend and in every way that really matters huge way on the off chance that it's not excessively kind of much difficulty. Note there basically is a bet to any hypothesis exceptionally, in spite of prevalent thinking, basically sort of placed assets into what you can sort of accomplish before showing up at any goals and direct the best assessment possible. Theta organization value estimate January 2031. The in every practical sense typical expense of Theta organization Theta could go to 4119 toward January's end. In an unpretentious manner, Theta could in a real sense trade around a generally really outrageous worth of 4237. With the base expected cost of 3766 or so. They thought Theta organization value conjecture February 2031. The fundamentally ordinary expense of Theta organization Theta could really go to 4242. Toward February's end Theta could be trading around a biggest pretty worth of 4442. With the base expected cost of 4046. In spite of prevalent thinking Theta organization Theta value conjecture, walk 2031 for spring, the expense of Theta organization certainly is expected to show up at a regular month-to-month uttermost generally reaches of 4327. Well, the coin will trade between a constraint